Frantics were the best band you never heard, but almost did. Almost.
The Frantics were amazing.
They were absolutely on the cutting edge of what music was doing at the time.
Wow, this band is really good.
There was definitely a buzz about the band.
They knew what to do with an instrument, and they had great chemistry.
It was different, yet familiar, and very, it had a magic of its own. I don't know how else to put it.
During that time, even afterwards, stuff like that, I don't know any band that sounded like that.
Watching the Frantics play live was just like a moment for me. Like better than going to some $60 show at some arena.
You know, they were kind of wild and rebellious and a little sexy at times.
I loved the energy and that they were great players.
It was just so much fun, so much energy, and every night it always felt like there was something different that would happen.
Everybody just knew where they fit in that band, and everybody knew what they were supposed to do. Nobody was trying to take the show over.
I'm going, these guys are it. They have it. Like, you know, I've seen a lot of bands here in Nashville and watched them, and they're gonna make it. Like, they're going on to the next level.
Without any one of the guys that were in the Frantics, there wouldn't have been the Frantics. It just wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have felt the same.
The Frantics were probably some of the most unique people that I'd met, just because they were such huge personalities of people.
John loved the band more than anybody, I believe. I think that he believed in the Frantics more than anybody.
Rock and roll is all about like kicking down the door, and you know, I mean, John was that.
John has a blues base to his playing, and he kind of is aggressive, not like taking over, but he kind of like, you know, he whips his guitar into shape.
John never let us down, always had something ridiculous and inappropriate to say.
A lot went into his playing the guitar. He was the edge. Like, Chris's energy was edgy, but John's personality was more edgy.
He was everybody's angry old uncle, and you know, just an amazing guitar player. So much fun to watch, had a vibe all his own.
I don't think John realized how good of a guitar player he was. And Derek definitely didn't realize how great of a drummer he is, and he's still, I'll go on record saying, he's still the best drummer I've ever played with personally.
Derek was the best drummer I've ever witnessed, being around day to day and doing music.
He was a fire, he was a backbone behind a lot of those songs.
If Bunny Carlos was dead, I would say he was Bunny Carlos reincarnated. He's one of my favorite drummers. I mean, he's just incredible. Always plays the right thing, plays with so much energy.
Derek was immensely talented, and I really believe he was humble about it. And I don't think he was well aware of just how good he was, exceptional.
The girls loved Chris when we were out on tour. They would line up for Chris everywhere he went. He was signing autographs.
I thought Chris was a great songwriter.
Chris wanted to connect. You could tell that in his lyrics, and you can tell that in his stage performance. Just a lot of energy, a lot of angst, a lot of anger.
I mean, there was a lot going on upstairs with Chris.
Chris has an ability like nobody I've ever met. He has the ability to see a situation and be able to write and come up with melody. And he has a gift. I mean, he's gifted.
But I really think Chris really took his lyrics seriously. I always got that vibe from him and stuff. And I think that was like, at that time and stuff, you know, that was in the late 90s and stuff, early 2000s, when maybe lyrical depth wasn't the big thing in music. And I got the impression from Chris, like, okay, I want my songs to mean something. You know what I mean? And they did.
One of my great memories of Matthew being on tour was just his ability to dress well. He just always looked like the coolest guy around. Like, Matthew would walk into a room and it's like, wow, check out this cool guy. And then he would talk and he had this like Kentucky accent. And then it's like, it's this confusion of like, is this guy rock and roll or is he country?
Matthew was like the sweet character in the middle of all of it. He was amenable. He was, I'm just gonna go with the flow. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm happy to be here.
Matthew was the ladies' man of the group, if you will. All the ladies loved him.
What's up, ladies? That was me, 18-year-old Matthew. And that video was taken almost 20 years ago to the day. We were recording in a studio bigger than my house, and I thought I'd be doing that really for the rest of my life. These days, I'm blessed to work as a filmmaker and finally getting the chance to tell the story about this band, my band, the Frantics. 9 months ago, I traveled down to Nashville and interviewed some of the folks that you've just heard that had a big influence or big part in making our band successful at the time. Surprisingly, they had a lot of great things to say, which is super flattering. But at the same time, it kind of stirs up the what could have been type feelings maybe that I had kind of buried deep down. I reached out to all the guys in the band. John and Derek live about an hour and a half away. They've agreed to take part. Chris lives about 5.5 hours away, and we've not been able to get together yet schedule-wise on doing his interview. Hopefully that's going to work out. First stop on our journey, Providence, Kentucky. Derek D. Sorrows.
I'm over it now. 98% of me is over it. But there will be certain things every now and then that will just kind of, I'll think about what it could have been. We own a record store now, so I'm around music all the time still, and that's all I used to think about was playing. All I used to think about. I was always trying to perfect my skill and become even better and whatever. And now I could care less. It's once in a lifetime type of deal when you get in a band like that and it's magic and you've got all the right components. We essentially had all of our eggs in one basket, banking on everything. I was going in the hole financially big time just to make this thing work. It was very tough, to swallow when he told us that, he was going to quit. I literally wanted to kill him. I did. I was literally just crushed, like emotionally, but I was literally just furious too. There was a lot of dark years I went through because of that, because of him pulling all that stuff. That band, I had so many dreams of us doing something so big. And I knew we were on to something so big, and we all knew it. We all knew it, and it was just a very, 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 very hard thing to deal with for a lot of years.
So, back in the late 90s, the internet existed, but people weren't using it to market stuff. It was still very much viewed by businesses as they weren't sure what to do with it yet.
We had to tour. We had to get out there. We had to, do the whole rat race thing.
If you're going to be a touring band, you need to sell merch. You need to sell CDs. And I think the Frantics were like a lot of bands. Getting to the next show was really dependent on how well they did merch the night before.
So bands had to get on the radio, or they had to tour incessantly in order to be able to get in front of fans, so that those fans would then go to the store and buy their music. It was the old business model that doesn't exist anymore.
Now, if we fast forward to now, the Frantics can set up in their rehearsal room and do a live stream, and instead of going to Grimes, Iowa and playing for 200 people, they can play for 20,000 people who tune in and stuff like that. So that's just the different. And they say a tip jar, somebody can send a PayPal thing. None of that existed. Cell phones barely existed.
I want as much camera time as possible, so I'm gonna make it sound sweet. We would leave town and see the factory where we knew we would never want to wind up, and that was the driving force behind what we were doing, behind that band. If we could be successful enough playing music, doing what we loved, we would never have to be like anyone else. I've been a Carhartt for 14 years. are you going to edit this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, back in my head, I said, well, piss on him because there's plenty more fish in the sea type of thing. We'll find someone like him or we'll find someone to replace him. I was worried about legalities from the standpoint of, oh, well, we're still signed in to do another record, and they can, like, by law, they can pretty much take us, and we'll be paying them for the next 20 years as far as from the record company.
Pamplin Music and its subsidiary, Organic Records, was started by a gentleman named Robert Pamplin, who was very successful in other businesses.
You know, you had Pamplin, and then you had all the other record labels, and the other ones had been around forever, whether it was the Forefront or Sparrow, and all these like had relationships, and it was 99% about relationships. Who you know, who gets you in the door, who vouches for you.
Like most industries, you know, when you're the new guy on the block, the other people view you with some skepticism.
The one thing I thought was maybe slightly delusional was being on this small Christian label and thinking you could have like a mainstream impact when I know, Atlantic and everybody are vying for their own spaces.
The idea that you could be on Pamplin Records and see your dreams come true, it's not gonna happen.
Unfortunately, Lewis was right. To be on Pamplin Records and see your dreams come true, it did not happen from any of us, except for one. At the time, you could have fooled us. We were traveling on a tour bus. We were on big tours, playing for big crowds. Guys from other bands that I looked up to were telling me and our band that we were the next big thing. If I haven't painted the picture well enough yet, we're from nowhere. We're from nowhere, Kentucky. So anyone that's offering any kind of record deal to a band like us, we're probably gonna say yes, especially when you're 18 years old. Unfortunately, that was one of the worst things that we could have ever done. We signed onto this Christian record deal. They were telling us they were gonna shop us to major labels. So we were using that as a stepping stone to get to the next level. Even with the odds against us, we did not care. We knew we were a good rock and roll band, and we knew, put us in whatever market, if we stayed together and kept writing and growing as a band, we knew we were going to the next level.
Everything was there to make them really happen, but the problem is that you put them in this world where they didn't fit.
Sometimes the industry's just not ready for that sound yet.
Ultimately, there was nobody that came out of Pamplin except for one person that ended up being famous. And ultimately, that one person ended up going to mainstream and making their own name for him, and it wasn't Pamplin that did it for him.
Within 9 months, the label didn't exist anymore either. So even if the Frantics had continued, they would have had to find another home.
I had heard the new songs that the Frantics had done, and I just thought, wow, they are taking everything they were, their look, their feel, their attitude, their energy, and they're taking it to the next level. The next obvious place the Frantics should go.
I think the Frantics were ahead of their time musically.
With the Frantics today, I don't think the Frantics would have ever even bothered with the Christian market. I think we would have right to the mainstream.
Put the Frantics in another situation, people would know their name. I really believe that the Frantics would be huge and big.
The Frantics would have been huge college favorites had they had the opportunity to do that.
We're hearing that basically Chris had decided that he wanted out, and that the rest of the guys were not happy about it, which is understandable.
I hate it when the world loses a great band, and I think they lost one with them.
She's a natural wonder. I know she feels like something's wrong.
It's not fair that one person can pull the rug out from everyone else, and it's not. And it's, I don't know, I feel crappy about it. I know it was the right thing for me. I hope that it has been a thing that has worked out in, their lives to good too, but yeah, it does suck to be the person who's behind the steering wheel driving a bus off a cliff. You know what I mean? And saying this ride is over.
I've had, God, I don't know how many jobs. Because it's hard to, It's really hard just to be normal and try to find yourself when you're so used to doing all these, these different things that not everybody's doing. Stay in these 5-star hotels and have room service and then play these amazing shows and play in these multi-million-dollar studios. And all that stuff just comes to a halt and you're just like, what am I supposed to do now?
Even worse than that is like I think anyone would have the question, why? Well, why not? Is it me? Am I the asshole? Was Matthew the ass or Derek or, honestly, I think he was afraid of success.
If you're gonna shake it now. We all just sit back and enjoy the ride.
I went into that show because I knew it was my last time playing with the guys. I literally put everything out. I mean, every part of me that could possibly pour it out on the stage in that set, I poured it out. We were just like firing on all cylinders. It was great. And I mean, I got off stage and I was elated. Just the joy of playing music with those guys, especially knowing that this may be the last time. We went out to the tour bus and I remember we just sit down kind of around this, I think we were just sitting around kind of like the bus table and I was getting ready to say, hey guys, I need to talk to you about something. And I kid you not, Derek says, man, that was so great. I feel like we're at a new beginning right now. I feel like we have an opportunity. We're just starting something new. We're just getting started again. And I was just like, oh no. And I just said, I need to quit. I can't be in it anymore. And truthfully, I think they were shell-shocked. I don't think anybody saw it coming. And again, that show, like if you had to base the future of your band on one show, you'd be like, we're going all the way on how that last show felt. For me, the dream of music was all about reaching the point where I can do it as a career. We get enough success that we make enough money that our wives and kids can go on tour with us. That's the dream, right? And what happened with us is that we weren't fizzling out. I mean, we were taking steps. We were really getting more successful, having more opportunities. We were getting better as a band. We were at a point where we needed to start writing our sophomore album, and everything was working for us. But the opposite of what I expected happened. I saw that the more success we had, the more opportunities we had, the more that it demanded that I go away, and the more it demanded that I have less time. And so when I saw in print that I was gone more than 6 months out of the year away from my wife, and I realized that the big dream for my life was a house, a happy family, was kids, was a great marriage, all things that I thought success in the music industry would give me. And I think I realized at that point that the opposite was true. And I got in the car and I started driving home, knowing that the three of them were sitting on the bus and it was the last time that we were gonna be like that band. And so I called Terry and I was like, hey, I just did it. And I just started bawling. And I couldn't even talk. Ugly face, out loud, just sobbed for maybe half an hour just driving. It was a whole new chapter in my life. I didn't know where I was gonna go. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I had no career aspirations ever other than this. And I just literally walked out of the bus with these three guys who were like my best friends in the world who I was married to. I mean, it was like a divorce. It's like a family breaking up.
He didn't know who he was. He didn't know what to do with himself. He didn't think that he had any skills. And so, walking with him through those dark days was hard, and trying to get him to understand, you're intelligent. You're smart. He always knew he was smart, but you can do things. And watching him then become successful in a career, that was enjoyable, but it certainly didn't happen overnight.
As much as I hurt leaving, it was something I did, and that hurt. It was something that happened to the other guys. It wasn't something that they thought through and processed and did. It was something that happened to them.
Dude, why'd you leave something so great? Because it was bigger. I think it was bigger than what he realized it was. It had the potential, out of anything that I've ever seen, it had the potential to be huge. absolutely just larger than life.
It was just like the bottom fell out of everything. And I just wanted to be there for them. But what do you say to somebody who's worked so hard and that all their dreams have come crashing down and you know it's over? You know, there's nothing you can say.
Say what you will, you know, if you're on the outside looking in and somebody being like, oh, you know, why don't you just get over it? You know, why don't you play and do what I did and see through my eyes for everything that I've done and worked for all my life to see it crash? You know, it's just, and that's why I basically don't want anything to do with music anymore.
But I just woke up this morning from a text from Chris, and he has the opportunity for us to do a show, a Frantics show. First show in a long, long time. And yeah, I think it'd be awesome. I think John will do it, but I don't think there's any way that Derek would do it. All right, John's in. So I've been texting with Derek most of the morning, and so far it's not going too great. I'm gonna give him a call and see if I can work my magic on him. Yeah, it's 2 weeks away, and there's a lot of stuff that's gonna come together, but you know, if we all wanna do it, we can do it, and it'll be awesome. Really? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, man, awesome. Yeah, your family seeing you play, your kids seeing you play, they're gonna love it. Cool. Yeah. Well, we've got 2 weeks to make it happen. All right, man. Talk to you soon. All right. See ya. He's in. Concert's on. I guarantee you John's going to be 15 minutes late, and and it's not going to be his fault, that's for sure. Okay, so you're almost here.
We'll fire it up and take it coast to coast. We wanna be the band you love the most, love the most.
I've been around everyone individually, but we haven't all been together as a group in a really, really long time. So, you know, we've been texting and things, and I think it's going to be fine, but I just hope that it's not too awkward.
I'm sure once the initial kind of weirdness is over with, it'll be just back to cracking jokes, probably.
We're actually meeting up with Chris to shoot some pool and to catch up a bit before we go practice for tomorrow's show.
But yeah, I mean, for the first 3 or 4 years afterwards, I hated you. You know, I wanted to kill you. You know, it was like a total waste of time. Fast forward years later and see Katy Perry playing the freaking Super Bowl, and it was like, here I am working a crap job.
It might have been seeing what you had to sacrifice and go through that may have actually been an influence on me. When we were in the band, I remember thinking to myself, man, this is tough on Derek. He's got a baby, and I don't know, there may have been part of me that was like, I don't know if I could tough it.
I wish you hadn't left. When you did, you get the rest of your life to do that.
I knew what I had done. I knew what it was going to cost me, and I knew what it was going to cost you guys. And so, I mean, I know that doesn't necessarily, I don't know, make up for what you guys had to go through in losing the band when it wasn't your choice and when it wasn't your call. It sucked. It sucked all around. I think an analogy for our whole career is just what we were best at. What we did great is for 45 minutes, we just rocked a stage. And it was the four of us were the only ones who could do that. You couldn't swap any of us out. And like those 45 minutes, like for me, was the Frantics.
A little shooting star that you happened to see, and then that was it, you know?
Maybe not every band, but what's cool about our band is that it will always and ever only be the four of us, and no one can ever replace that or take that away.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that is like, I don't care how old I get, like I love the fact that like we are always gonna be the Frantics, and nothing can top that.
Show is tonight. I'm super excited to see the Frantics. I'm excited to see him up on stage.
Frantics was my first concert, and now 18 years later, I'm super pumped to see him again. I've got my boys with me, so this is gonna be their first concert, so hopefully just keep the cycle going.
So we drove 5 hours.
We're this excited. We have all their albums.
On cassette.
Yeah, on cassette.
Lord, thank you for this. This is awesome. And Lord, thanks for letting us reconnect the way we have over these last couple of days. I pray that you bless this show. I pray that it would rock. God, I don't care how many people are out there. I pray that you just let us have one of the best nights of our lives. And Lord, let us melt faces. We love you. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
98,
That kid's stuck down there.
140, 42.
Please welcome organic recording artist, The Frantics. Are you ready to rock? Are you ready or not?
Look at these guys. Pure, wild animal craziness. I know for myself, I couldn't even walk the next day. I'll be honest, I've been struggling for about a month now on how to finish this project up. And I think that's because I don't want it to end. I've enjoyed every minute of working on this, reconnecting with the guys, and telling our story. But it does have to end. So I've decided to reach out to the guys one last time and have them put the final word on the movie. One, so we can hear them again. Two, if the ending sucks, it's their fault. Derek, one word answer. How do you feel about the band after this project?
Bittersweet.
John, what's the word?
Shit show.
That's 2 words.
I've made it.
Chris, what's your one word? How do you sum up the band?
One word. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
I was running up on the stage, I tripped and I fell on my shoulder. And at the time I didn't realize it, but I'd knocked it out of place completely. My arm is just dead. I mean, it's dead weight. It's just completely limp. And I pulled a total lethal weapon and I went, popped it back in. So we start playing the song, going to the next one. It's going good. About halfway through the song, I go and do a fill, throw it out again. I'm like, oh God. And it ended up happening 3 times during the show.
5, 6, 7 years old, I saw Purple Rain. I would sit in class and draw pictures of my band and my stage, and it would look like I would be in the middle with my guitar, and I have a keyboard over here and the drums over here. It looked like the scene Let's Go Crazy out of Purple Rain, and that's what I always wanted to do.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite stories from being in the band. We were moving of the other band's stuff forward and loading our stuff behind it. And as we're doing that, this other band comes in and they're like, hey, what are you guys doing? I'm like, oh, no big deal. We're just putting our stuff behind yours so that when you guys got to strike your set after playing first, you know, we're just ready to go. They're like, don't touch my stuff, man. Don't touch my stuff, man. Don't touch my stuff. Matthew and John are just, they're kind of like sniping back and forth, which is funny because Matthew always said over and over and over again, man, I just wish we could get in a fight with somebody. I just want to get in a fight, just a band fight. Wouldn't that be great? I'm pretty sure Matthew and John are saying things like, listen here, buddy, you don't want us to go before you. Trust me, you do not want us playing before your set. You will regret that. But I kid you not, whoever was running the festival let those guys have that spot. And I don't think I've ever played with as much heat and anger and passion as we did in that show, because I had one goal: make those guys look like chumps, and we did.
Who were those guys?
That band was Reliant K.
At the end of the day, you know, what a great experience.